Chris Mackowski and Brian Swartz for Emerging Civil War, and we're standing next to Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain in Brewer, Maine, and I'm going to ask Brian to tell us a little bit about why Brewer.
Joshua Chamberlain was born in Brewer, Maine, about a half mile up North Main Street behind us here, on the same side of the street, and he grew up on Chamberlain Street, which is about 3/4 of a mile out towards the east. His family was very well known in this area. His father was a merchant, was a militia. His grandfather was a militia captain at the Battle of Hamden in 1814. So this area that we're standing on and looking out at, this was Chamberlain's home stomping grounds when he was a youngster. Chamberlain writes in his book, Joyous Boyhood, about the sledding expedition when he went down over the hill into downtown Brewer. Well, this is the hill down below us going down North Main Street. And he mentions about how some of his friends were blocking off streets so people didn't come wandering out and get run over by these youngsters in their sleds. And it appears he had a certain young woman with him, but he never identified her name. But this is where Chamberlain grew up. Of course, when he left home to go down to Bowdoin, he never really came back. His parents stayed in the house up at 80 Chamberlain Street. So back in the early 1990s, when the state of Maine decided to replace what we used to call the old bridge just a quarter of a mile down below us here over the Penobscot River, they had to widen out this intersection of State Street and North Main. So this little piece of land became available. The Brewer Historical Society and other preservationists got the idea, let's develop the Chamberlain Freedom Park, and that's what's led to the creation of the park. It's dedicated to Chamberlain. We've got the 20th Maine Monument. We've got down below the States Monument to slaves escaping freedom up through the Penobscot River here in Maine.
Tell me about the kind of the spot of land that we're on, and it feels a little like Little Round Top.
If you come park by the Irving Mainway station behind here like we did, when you step out, you suddenly realize, if you're familiar with Little Round Top, that there is a sense you've been here before. The land falls sharply away not only to the street below us here, but down to the Penobscot River, and you can see, imagine you're standing beside the Warren statue. You stand over here, I can turn to my right, I can see far into Bangor, almost like seeing the Pennsylvania Monument from a Little Round Top, but also it feels like there's so below you, there's Little Round Top, Devil's Den, the wheat field off in the distance. It's very, as Chris had said earlier, it's very evocative of Little Round Top. We don't have Warren, but we have a statue of Chamberlain.
You and Chamberlain share stomping grounds.
Yes, we do. I grew up here in Brewer at 272 Chamberlain Street, which is, well, he grew up at 80 Chamberlain Street, so it's maybe 3/4 of a mile up the road. Our farm that we grew up on was not part of the Chamberlain farm, but I'm familiar with the streets out behind the Chamberlain house on Chamberlain Street, which were actually once were that farm.
Do people here in town still recognize Chamberlain and his contribution?
They do to some extent, but Chamberlain is not taught like he was in the Brewer school system when I was attending schools in Brewer in the 1960s. But everybody knows his name. Joshua Chamberlain, we've got the Chamberlain Bridge, Chamberlain Freedom Park. There is enough attention paid to the monument here, but I have the impression that it's more people who are visiting Maine from out of state that will come here and just walk the grounds. It's a small park. We even have a fence over here that looks something like from Gettysburg. There's a couple bronze plaques around the flagpole. If you want to see Chamberlain this time of year, the best time to come is probably from noontime on. That's when he gets full exposure to the sun, and you can get some beautiful photos.
And Brian, give us just a quick reminder, if we want more about Chamberlain or Maine at War in general, how can we do that?
We go to mainatwar.wordpress.com, or you can go onto the Savage Beatty website and order Passing Through the Fire, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain and the Civil War, written by me.
So check out Brian's website, Maine at War. You can also get a link to his site every first Saturday of the month through ECW. Got great stuff, great stories. There's so much more to Maine's story than just Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, even though he's kind of like the the groom on the top of the cake, I suppose, of Maine's war story. Brian, thanks for spending some time.
Thank you very much, Chris.
I'm Chris Mackowski with Brian Swartz here in Brewer, Maine for Emerging Civil War. We'll see you online and on the battlefield.
Thank you.